I've made a lot of progress on the assignment you gave me.
Remind me. Stop. You're just using different words to say the same thing.
Well, yeah. But I'm using less words and explaining it in more Western terms.
Why do you think I asked you to summarize the passages you were reading to me, Martin?
I thought that you were interested in it and might be having trouble, following it.
Yes, I was having trouble with it, Martin. I sure was. Now let's try this again. What I'd like you to do is boil this whole complex ganglion of guru speak down to a single lucid concept. Summarize it. Hack away at it until you reach the core. Reduce it like an algebraic equation. Burn away all the excess and see what's left.
Well, I think that what he means is the...
Why does it matter what he means, Martin? It's your head on the block, Martin. It's your clock that's ticking. What's your mission statement, Martin? What's the point? What is it you hope to accomplish with your life?
Freedom from bondage. Liberation. Oneness with all that is. Unity consciousness.
Okay. That's quite a list. Or do you figure those are all different ways of saying the same thing?
Well, yes, those are all different ways of saying enlightenment.
Really? How do you know?
Well, I've spent over 25 years.
What, Martin? You've spent over 25 years doing what?
Everything. Studying, meditating, purifying myself, reading, attending lectures, learning everything I could about evolving spiritually.
What if you were to find out that it was all a waste? Bear with me here, Martin. We're just talking. Just hypothetically. What if you found out that in order to achieve the enlightenment you speak of, you had to reject all the teachings you've ever received? Could you abandon all this knowledge you've acquired?
Well, I really don't think I...
What's your priority? Enlightenment or the knowledge?
I don't think that...
How long has your guru been teaching?
Well, over 30 years.
And how many of his students have achieved enlightenment?
Well,
That you know of personally?
Well, I never...
That you've heard of?
It's not that.
That there were rumors of?
I don't think that...
What is it they're doing, Martin? The recipe for enlightenment they promoting, what is it?
Well, meditation and knowledge, basically.
And in 30 years they've never held someone up and said, look at his guy. He's enlightened and we got him there. In 30 years they don't have even one. Don't you think they should have, like, an entire army of enlightened guys to show off by now?
Well, it's not.
After 30 years they should have a few dozen generations of enlightened people. Even with only a quarter of them becoming teachers, they should have flooded the world by now, mathematically speaking, don't you think? I'm not asking this as a teacher myself, mind you. I'm just asking as a consumer, or a consumer's advocate. Don't you think it's reasonable to ask to know a teacher's success rate? The proof is in the pudding, right? Didn't you ask them about the fruit of their teachings when you started with them?
Well, that's not.
Don't you think it's reasonable to ask? They're in the enlightenment business, aren't they? Or did I misunderstand you? Do they have something else going?
No, but they?
If Consumer Reports magazine did a report on which spiritual organizations delivered as promised, don't you suppose that the first statistic listed under each organization would be success ratio? Like here are 100 randomly selected people who started with the organization 5 years ago and here's where they are today. For instance, 31 have moved up in the organization, 27 have moved on. 39 are still with it but not deeply committed and 3 have entered abiding non-dual awareness. Okay, 3%, that's a number you can compare. But this organization of yours would have a big fat goose egg, wouldn't they? And not just out of 100, but out of hundreds of thousands, millions probably. Am I wrong?
You're making it sound.
I know I am, Martin, and I know how they respond to this point. They say that everyone is coming up together, don't they? They say everyone's going to burst through at the same time when a certain critical mass has been reached. Isn't that it?
Well, kinda yeah, but you're making it sound like...
Why do you think that organization isn't up to its ass in enlightened people after 30 years? I would think they'd have storage problems by now. I would think the world would be beating a path to their doors by now. How much time do they need?
It's not exactly.
Yes, Martin, it is exactly. That's the point. It couldn't be more exact. How is it possible that after 30 years the only case of enlightenment is the one that started the whole thing? I know he's a big deal, Martin. I know the teachings. I know the breadth and scope of this guy. I agree that he's an elevated being, whatever that means. If I were in his presence I would fall to my knees and touch his lotus-strewn feet. He's great. I know it, but we're not talking about someone else. We're talking about you. We're talking about you, doing what? What do you call it? Breaking free from bondage. I don't see anyone in this guy's organization breaking free from bondage, Martin. Do you? Can you offer an opinion as to why that might be? Martin, I think you might consider the possibility that there's a serious flaw in that organization. Something near the core. Do you think it's unreasonable of me to say that? Do you think it's at least reasonable to ask? To at least consider the possibility? My own awakening ran its course in less than 2 years, Martin. And that's without any living teacher to help me. I've never heard of the process taking longer than that. I really don't see how the process could take much longer than that. It's a process that takes a certain amount of time. About the same as the gestation period for a baby elephant. Martin.
Yes?
Would you agree that there might be a flaw in a teaching that doesn't produce any graduates? If so, it would be a pretty serious flaw, right? Well, that's an interesting possibility. Maybe you could think about that a bit and let me know what you come up with. Okay? Martin, I already know the answer. This is for you, okay?